Okay, we're going to take the spreadsheet we worked on last time and we're going to add one more thing to it. What we're going to do is we're going to add a column here labeled percent. And notice how Excel is smart enough. Sometimes it's smart, sometimes it isn't. It continued the formatting here, although I'm not sure why it didn't do the underline. But anyway, what we're going to do here is we're going to find out what percent of our budget is going to each of these categories. And percents are just fractions, so all I need to do for this formula is take this and divide it by the total, and then on this one take this and divide it by the total, and then take this one and divide it by the total. So let's give that a try. So let's do equals, and I want to take this number here, slash for division, divided by this number here. And I've already got it formatted as a percent. By default, what you would get is something, whoops, wrong cell. Well, by default, what you would get is something that looks like this. And then to make it into a percent, just go here and click on the percent button in the number group. And if I double click on this, it shows me the blue number is here and the green number is here, which is exactly what I want. Now I'm going to copy that formula down to the next three cells, and I get an error. And the reason I get an error is because I'm trying to divide by 0. It's picking the blue number correctly, but the green number keeps getting shifted down one cell every time. And if you think about it, well, it makes sense, because this formula is not really H3 divided by H6. It is the number 2 cells to the left divided by the number that's 2 cells to the left and 1, 2, 3 cells down. And so if I copy that down to the next row, 2 cells to the left is fine, but 2 cells to the left and then 3 more cells down is this. And what it's doing here is it's changing the H6 to an H7, and then changing it to an H8, and then changing it to an H9, and I want the H6 to stay the same every time. And that's called an absolute cell reference. An absolute cell reference is one that never changes when it gets copied. By default, Excel does relative cell references, which do change when they get copied. If you copy the formula down, the row numbers get adjusted. If you copy the number to the right, the column letters get adjusted. But what I want here is I want that H6 to be an absolute cell reference. And the way you make it an absolute cell reference is you put a $sign in front of the H and a $sign in front of the 6. Just like that. And the way I did both of them at the same time was by pressing function key F4. That'll take a term in a formula and convert it into an absolute cell reference. So now that's the formula that I want to copy. And if I copy that down, now everything works out. The green one is always H6. The blue one is 2 cells over. 2 cells over, H6. 2 cells over, H6. And this time it's both the same cell, so all I get is a blue box. Okay? So absolute cell references are very important in Excel. You can't really do a useful spreadsheet if you don't know how to do absolute cell references. And an absolute cell reference is just one that never changes when you copy it. And the way you tell Excel it's going to be absolute is by putting those $signs in there. Now, there's one other thing I want to take a look at here, and that is these numbers over here. I've got 28% plus 49%, and if I add those two numbers together, I get 77%, and if I add 24% onto that, I get 101%. And the number down here says 100%, and this will happen every once in a while in Excel. You'll get a sum that doesn't appear to be correct based on the numbers up above. However, if I take these numbers here and increase the decimal places, you can see what's happening. This is just a little bit more than 27.5, so it rounds up to 28 when I round it off to the nearest percent for display purposes. This one is almost 49, so that rounds up to 49, and this one rounds up to 24. So every single one of these numbers rounds up, and when you add all of that extra rounding up, we end up with 101%. But if you actually go in and look at the real numbers that are underlying what's displayed, like we're doing right now, you'll see that Excel really is adding the numbers correctly. It's only when I go back in here and I tell it to reduce the number of decimal places that sometimes you get some of these round off errors, and it's not really an error. It's just caused by the fact that you're displaying values rounded to a certain number of decimal places, and those rounded values may not equal the total down here. So that's something you kind of need to be aware of when you do Excel. That'll pop up every once in a while.